Hi Daniel, this is Daisy speaking. I would like you to make a podcast about office culture, at working place habits and anything, including smoking and chatting and swearing.
Hello guys, this is Daniel Goodson from myfluentpodcast, and you just heard Daisy speaking. She reached out to me in order to motivate me to produce an episode about office culture. Thanks for that, Daisy. Daisy comes from Vietnam and she also learns or improves her English. So basically that's a really good thing to learn something from another culture, because in my opinion it's not only learn target language, no, it's also to learn habits and culture and behaviors of other people. So in this episode you are gonna hear something about my culture. So let's begin with the rather language learning related or language related topic. And so in my company, everyone is allowed to speak in his language. And for those who don't remember, in Switzerland we have 4 languages. That is German, French, Italian, and Romansh. Although I want to mention here that the latter has only about 20,000 speakers in Switzerland. So, furthermore, the government publishes documents and laws, of course, in the 3 most spoken languages. So, in my company, when attending a meeting, everyone is allowed to speak in his native mother tongue. So, that is most of the time it is German. In practice, it is common that speakers will use German or French in a meeting, because not everyone in the company speaks all of the languages, especially not the Italian. Another lovely example is that when writing an email, everybody writes in his language. So my email, for example, would be, of course, in German, standard German, not Swiss German, because when we write emails, we don't use our dialect. On the other hand, the colleague who receives my email, who probably is a French speaker, he will reply in French. So I find this quite interesting, because that way I can learn a lot, because I'm not a C1 or C2 French speaker. I need more practice, but that way you can improve in your target language, in my case in French, and even in Italian, because in my team there are also Italian speakers, and from time to time they speak to each other in Italian, and I try to listen to them and to improve my Italian as well.
I cannot breathe in my office whenever people smoke and smoke all around me, and just I cannot breathe and I have to run out the room department.
So, let's move to the question if I am allowed to smoke in my office. So, first off, luckily in my team there are no smokers. No smokers at all. But I can tell you that we are not allowed to smoke in the building. So if somebody wants to smoke, he has to leave the building, and we have orders that the time you're spending while smoking does not count as working hour. And something which is interesting to me is that in Switzerland there is a law since 2010 that smoking in the public domain is not allowed, is forbidden. So, for example, in buildings of civil servants, it is restricted, or in hospitals, or in museums, theaters, cinemas, and also in restaurants. Of course, if you have a restaurant and within the restaurant you have a separated room for smokers, then it is allowed. And I can remember a few years ago when traveling by train, this was incredible because when smoking wasn't forbidden, then you could smell the smoke everywhere, even in the compartments where it was not allowed. That was really horrible. For example, at the disco, everybody was smoking. Subsequently, all your clothes smelled of smoke. Another interesting fact is that the price of one packet of cigarettes increased drastically. So, if we have a look at the year 1995, the packet was $350, and nowadays the packet costs about $9. It's incredible.
People swear crazily whenever they find angry with everything around. So I cannot swear, of course, because I'm a woman. I cannot swear in the office. That is crazy. I know it's. I cannot angry too. So I just keep silent and.
Poor thing, Daisy. I've got the impression that you don't like at all to have to listen to all the swearings in the office. So in my case, it is not that often that people are cursing or swearing. But of course, if there are a lot of emotions or a lot of stress, then people tend to swear quite a bit. But it always depends on the person. Because in our team, for example, there are people who would never, ever swear. And I think it's not a problem if someone is swearing from time to time, if there is really a reason to swear. I guess it's a kind of letting off steam, and that is good. But if someone is doing that always, then yeah, that's completely different situation. I hope you could enjoy this episode of My Fluent Podcast. And if you wanna share something with us, that could be in your mother tongue. I understand French as well, Spanish, or German of course. Then you can send me a short MP3 file with your story. My email address is myfluentpodcast@gmail.com. I'm your host, Daniel Goodson. Have a good one!